Good morning, everybody. As Yasmin said, I'm Jeff Hale, and I'm one of the small business specialists at NOAA. I'm going to be giving a brief overview of NOAA's mission, as well as some insight into how to do business with us. And as Yasmin said, once I finish my part, then Kelly Wright will be taking over the SBIR program part of the presentation as well. All right, so let's see. So NOAA traces some of its roots as far back as 1807, when then President Thomas Jefferson created the U.S. Survey of the Coast. NOAA wasn't an official agency until much more recently in 1970, but the mission of NOAA has been around for a very long time. I wanted to show a quick video of the history of NOAA because this is our anniversary year, 50 years. So I will see if this works. Hopefully it does.
When our young nation resolved to survey our ocean and coasts,
Hi, Jeff. The sound seems to have gone on the video.
It's not, you can't hear it.
What we heard it at the beginning, then it just, it's come back.
Okay.
work and explore. Today, we are stewards for a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable ocean. Our innovation powers the blue economy. We protect life and property with every forecast and warning, driven by one of the largest streams of observation data on Earth. We are global leaders in environmental sciences and technologies. We dive deeper and venture farther to understand our changing planet. We are NOAA.
Like I said, just a quick brief overview of NOAA, celebrating our 50-year anniversary. NOAA's mission has obviously changed throughout the years, but currently what we do is our mission is to understand and predict changes in climate, weather, oceans, and coasts, to share that knowledge and information with others, and to conserve and manage coastal and marine ecosystems and resources. Our primary objectives include enhancing the nation's economy through the Earth system operation and prediction, minimizing the impacts from severe weather, which is a big one, and I'll talk a little bit more about shortly, and increase the sustainable contributions to the nation's economy through fishery and marine resource management, mapping, exploration, observation, and prediction. This slide shows the current management structure of NOAA, as well as all of its line and staff offices. The line offices are along the bottom of the slide, and the staff offices are on the right-hand side. The line offices are the ones that have the most dollars available for contracts, but the staff offices obviously have many requirements as well. As you can see from the list of NOAA clients, we have offices that span the spectrum of centralization. We have offices in every state across the country, and in some cases, multiple counties within each state. Some offices are very centralized, and others are all over the place. The Department of Commerce, which obviously NOAA is a part of, is made up of 12 bureaus, only 4 of which have procurement authority. In general, on non-census years, which was not this year, NOAA makes up over 60% of the obligations under the Department of Commerce. Census actually had more obligations than we did this year, which is very unusual, but it was a census year. The department also runs the Enterprise Services Division, and they purchase commodities that are similar in need for all the bureaus across the department. I'll go over a list of the current contracts the Enterprise Services Division has in place later in the presentation. And then lastly, just wanted to point out, we have a lot of contracts with industry, and in general, half of those contracts are with small businesses. Here's an overview of the office that I work for, the Acquisition and Grants Office. As you can see, we have 4 acquisition divisions, as well as 1 grants division. We also have a policy office, a staff services office, and the Office of the Ombudsman. The small business office actually falls under the policy and oversight division. The next few slides I put in here to give you a quick glance at our line offices and their overarching missions. The first up is the National Weather Service. And as I said previously, one of their current main objectives is for what we call Ready, Ready Nation, and which obviously is to save lives and livelihood. I do have one more video that I'm going to show for the Weather Service. I'm not going to show videos for all the line offices, but that doesn't mean they're not as important. So just the Weather Ready Nation is a very big aspect of our mission right now. So I wanted to show that to you.
Weather happens 24/7, and weather affects us all. That's why our forecasters across the country work 24/7 to keep you informed. For more than a century, we've been tracking and predicting the nation's weather. Science and technology are constantly improving and evolving to provide more precise forecasts and warnings. We're at the forefront of weather science, making forecasts faster and more accurate to support better decisions. We issue 1.5 million forecasts every year. They're built on data from surface stations, satellites, and even weather balloons. Forecasts aren't just about knowing whether you'll need an umbrella before you leave the house. Weather can affect fishermen heading out on the water, tourists deciding if they should go to the beach, farmers determining the best time to plant their crops, commuters on their way to work, travelers heading to the airport, and commerce. Weather affects goods being shipped across the country and around the world. From hurricanes, to tornadoes, to blizzards, to wildfires, to flooding. When extreme weather happens, we are there. NOAA issues 50,000 warnings each year for these severe weather events. We help you become aware of what's coming and give you the information you need to make fast, smart decisions. Do you know what to do in a severe weather emergency? Each year, people are seriously injured or killed by all types of extreme weather. We want you to be prepared. We can't do it alone, so we partner with all levels of government, emergency responders, businesses, academia, and the media to get the word out about weather emergencies. Our goal is to build a weather-ready nation. These actions protect lives and livelihoods and prepare the nation for extreme weather, water, and climate events. We communicate risks and forecasts where you are, on social media, on your device, and on the radio. We're empowering you to be ready, responsive, and resilient. This means planning ahead, knowing how to get your forecast, where your safe place is, and where to go in case of an evacuation, having a family emergency kit, and checking up on loved ones, especially those who are most vulnerable. At NOAA, our strength is in our people and partnerships. Together, we want our communities to be prepared for any type of weather, able to take action when needed, and protect their homes and families. Let's all be part of a weather-ready nation.
All right, next up, we have our National Ocean Service. I actually began my career with NOAA back in the early 2000s with NOAA'S. NOAA'S mission is one of their main parts of their mission is they are responsible for preserving and enhancing the nation's coastal resources and ecosystems along the entire 95,000 miles of shoreline in the United States, as well as Oceanic parts that are part of the United States. The way they do a lot of that work is through multiple award IDIQ contracts that utilize architect and engineering contracting techniques to survey the shoreline as well as to survey the depths of the waterways in order to create nautical charts. Another one of NOAA'S components includes the National Marine Sanctuaries Program. So NOAA is charged with overseeing and all 13 of the sanctuaries across the United States. Next up is fisheries. Our National Marine Fisheries Services Office is what this slide is going to be about. NOAA Fisheries is responsible for the stewardship of the nation's ocean resources and their habitat. They provide vital services for the nation, productive and sustainable fisheries, safe sources of seafood, the recovery and conservation of protected resources, and healthy ecosystems. NOAA Fisheries works in partnership with regional fishery management councils to assess and predict the status of fish stocks, set catch limits, ensure compliance with fisheries regulations, and reduce bycatch. Our research office provides the research foundation for understanding the complex systems that support our planet. Their research enables better forecasts, earlier warnings for natural disasters, and a greater understanding of the Earth. Their role is to provide unbiased science to better manage the environment. The NOAA Satellite and Information Service provides timely access to global environmental data from satellites and other sources to monitor and understand our dynamic Earth. They manage the nation's operational environmental satellites and deliver data and information services such as Earth system monitoring and official assessments of the environment. This slide is simply an example of one of our satellite systems monitored by NOAA's in cooperation with NASA. They have multiple satellite programs, and the Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellites program is one of them. Geostationary satellites circle the Earth at a speed matching the Earth's rotation. This allows them to stay in a fixed position in the sky, remaining stationary with respect to a point on the ground. GOES satellites continue to view the Western Hemisphere from approximately 22,000 miles above the Earth. These satellites provide advanced imagery and atmospheric measurements of Earth's weather, oceans, and environment, real-time mapping of total lightning activity, and improved monitoring of solar activity and space weather. NCEI, which is also a part of NOAA's, is charged with housing all the data from the satellites. As you can see from the amount of data that this part of NOAA's oversees is extremely large. So 26 terabytes a month is huge. And then finally, this slide shows our Office of Marine and Aviation Operations. They are charged with supporting our mission and are the office where all of our ships and airplanes are operated out of. So now I'm going to get into a little bit of how we did last year in our acquisition spending. We obligated about $1.7 billion in contracts last year and about $1.5 billion in grants. As you can see from the right-hand side of the screen, we have a few lopsided offices that have a lot of money to spend, but they have few transactions. So their individual transactions are going to be very large. For instance, NOAA's, if you look at the NOAA's slide, where they're 7% transactions, but 24% of the spend. And then we have some that have a lot of transactions with not as much spending, like fisheries. So NMFS has 29% of the transactions, but only 13% of the obligations. And then obviously we do have a few offices like Weather Service and Ocean Service that are very balanced. Here's a listing of our top 10 NAICS codes for FY20. As you will see, the top codes are all IT related, and most of the others are professional services related. We did have one supply code sneak into the group this year, and that's because we purchased an aircraft. The next, let's go a little further into our strategic sourcing vehicles. The first vehicle I will discuss is ProTech. ProTech handles all of our professional and technical services and is a mandatory use vehicle for NOAA, but optional for commerce. There are 4 domains under this vehicle that coincide with how NOAA goes out to business. So those domains are for weather, fisheries, oceans, and satellites. We awarded these contracts utilizing full and open competition with a 75% reserve for small businesses on the base award. So not on the actual orders, there's no reserve. We actually do set-asides on the orders, but on the base award, we strive to award at least 75% of those awards to small business. The total value of the vehicle is $3 billion over the course of 5 years for all the contracts and all the domains under ProTech. The prime contractors who won awards under these vehicles are allowed to add subcontractors at will, and it is not necessary for contract modification to add firms to their contracts. I provided the link to the ProTech website so you'll have it. We post a lot of information to the website as we are trying to be as transparent with you guys as we possibly can. Information should be especially useful to you guys that do not have prime contracts as contact information for the vendors that do. We also post specific forecast items that are anticipated to be awarded through the vehicle in the near future. Each of the domains have been awarded during different fiscal years, and each domain has a base of 2 years and 3 one-year option periods. As you can see, the satellite domain was our first award back in FY17, and we are beginning the process for the recompete of that domain. Each year, we will start the recompete process for the subsequent domain. We are not far enough along in the process to stipulate what the acquisition strategy will be at this time, but keep your eyes out for any market research notices that hit the street and respond to them if you have capability and interest. Next up, our IT services contract, which we are calling NEMITS. It is currently under protest, but we anticipate the first orders to be let sometime between November and January of this year. The solicitation was posted on Schedule 70 back in July of 2019, so we've been going through the process of award for quite some time. All IT services are required to go through this vehicle except for 8A IT services. Any work that is currently in the 8A program will stay in the program, and any new work will be considered for the 8A program prior to being placed in NEMITS. The Department of Commerce recently stood up an acquisition division that handles similar commodity purchases across all the bureaus under it. This generally equates to about $100 million of NOAA's obligations each year. This list of supplies is what is currently in place, and we are required to buy these items from these contracts, but they are also ever expanding. If you would like to speak to somebody at this office, please email them at this address at the bottom of this slide. I understand they are very responsive from others who have sent down there to talk to them, so they're a good group to talk to. Here's a listing of the top 10 firms that received the most dollars last year. About 25% of all of our obligations were with 10 firms. I always highly recommend researching the contracts that these firms have with us and looking for subcontracting opportunities with them and reaching out to them and talking to them. They're all really good companies. They attend all of the small business office events, so you're welcome to wait for those events too. Here's our goal achievement for last year. You can see that we review our goals in 3 ways. NOAA only, which includes obligations that only NOAA makes. The achievement methodology, which includes all the NOAA only obligations, plus obligations of NOAA's money by other agencies except NASA. And then goaling, which includes all NOAA and other agency obligations, plus NASA of our money. We are generally rated based on the achievement methodology. And as you can see, we met all of our small business goals for that methodology, and we were able to provide just over 50% of our obligations to small businesses, which equated to over $800 million that went to small firms last year from NOAA. Here is a snapshot of our goals over the last 6 years using the achievement methodology. You can see that we generally average over 50% of our award dollars to small businesses. We did have an off year last year, but we're bouncing back, as you can tell. So these next couple slides are on our forecast. I wanted to provide you with a snapshot of what our forecast looks like and explain a little bit. We just started using a new forecasting system this year. The information in the following 2 slides is based on transaction numbers, not dollars. So as you can see from the table, we've predicted 26% of the transactions would be to small businesses, whereas we actually made 70% of the transactions with small businesses last year. This is important to understand as you're looking at the forecasted items, because these are program office staff entering the information in these forecasts, and many times the information on competition is not totally correct, as we haven't done proper market research yet. Many times they're also not using the proper NAICS code. So it's also beneficial when you're searching these forecasts to read the description of the requirement as well, because the program office may not have selected the proper code. This year's forecast has over 1,000 entries so far. We do not limit staff to being able to enter forecast data, so new data is entered daily. But next year's forecast information for FY22 is due in May of the next year. So you'll see information in there starting to be added for FY22 up until everything's due in May, but they'll still be entering more FY22 data as they're entering FY21 data currently into the forecast. So it's always a good idea to keep an eye on what's going on. We're estimating our budget to be similar to last year, so we should obligate between $1.6 to $1.8 billion. And as you can see, the forecast data is similar to last year, where we are suggesting 27% of the transactions will be with small businesses, and we have 47% of the transactions labeled as TBD. There's a lot of opportunity here for small businesses. Even some of the items labeled as large businesses will eventually end up going to small businesses, so make sure you're looking at those as well. I want to give you a quick screenshot of our new forecast website. You will see there are two links, one for current data and one for archived data. The archived data is not really archived, but is basically our current FY21 forecast data. The current data is all the forecasted items that were not entered into the forecast by September 30th of this past year when we switched to the new system. All FY22 data will be in the new system, and then the archived link will no longer be available after October 1 of 2021. I want to touch on sources sought notices a little bit. It is so important to the small business office that if you have time, capability, and interest, that you respond to these notices. The set-aside decisions, if one is posted, are almost completely driven by the responses to these notices. It is also your opportunity to help drive the acquisition strategy. The biggest part is that it's free advertising. It puts your information in front of the program personnel and contracting personnel. It is so hard to get face time and meetings with staff, and this is how to get your information in front of them. They are required to review and assess your capabilities in response to the sources sought announcement to determine your capability. That's why it is so important to not give generic responses and to answer all questions asked very specifically. Some of the things I look for to ensure that we are not being overly burdensome in our information requests are that they are asking specific questions on specific capabilities being sought. If you review a notice that has been posted where they are stating that you need to respond to an entire SOW, then you need to let me know about it. I consider that to be an overly burdensome request. There should never be a question in your mind on what we are looking for. It should be clear on how you respond or how you should respond. If you have a question or concerned about what is being asked, please do not hesitate to reach out to the contracting officer or myself. I'm happy. I try to make sure that I pay attention to all the sources sought announcements, and I actually have a Twitter account where I post them all out to industry so that try to help out industry looking for them. Here are some helpful tips on where I've seen businesses be successful over the years. The top ideas, in my opinion, would be doing your homework. Don't call someone and tell them what you do and then ask what work they can give you. Know who you're calling, what requirements they have, and how you can help them meet their requirements and mission. Our forecast is a great place to start this process. Sharing information will be next on my list. You have to network to understand everything that is happening within an organization. NOAA has a robust community of firms that all talk to one another. It amazes me all the rumors I hear that are abound between them all, and I get asked all the time about them. I love that aspect because although many times the rumors are incorrect, it sometimes turns me onto an issue that will help the small business community. My last top item is persistence. I know many firms that spent years and years trying to get a contract. They never gave up, and after a lot of time, finally got that first contract. The firms I'm thinking of are now receiving multiple million-dollar contracts each year because they never gave up. So persistence is your friend. Small Business Office updated its website over this past year. There's so much valuable information on the site now. I highly recommend that you review it in its entirety. Some of the key items are the FAQ. You can schedule one-on-one meetings with my office there. We also have a registration system for interested firms that we use for market research purposes, and then general helpful hints on how to do business with us. Finally, here's my contact information as well as the other small business specialists within NOAA's information. please feel free to reach out whenever you have questions. You can also follow us on Twitter. And as I said, we try to post all sources of thought notice information there, as well as small business news stories that may be relevant to the contractor community. And then finally, we have a tentative Small Business Industry Day scheduled for May 13th of next year. We're kind of waiting to see what happens with the COVID situation, but we hope to have something next year. So please save the date for that event. And then that's all I have. Thank you. And I'll answer questions.
Thanks so much, Jeff. That was great. Yes, we do have a few questions, and I'd encourage everybody listening right now to type your questions out. First one is from Philip, who asked, does NOAA offer contracts for geo satellites? And if so, what type?
For GO satellites? Yeah, the main contract is with Raytheon. I believe Raytheon and Harris both have contracts for the GO satellite program. Those are large hundreds of $1 million contracts. I believe one of them is coming up for recompete soon. And we're going to obviously look to see if we can set aside. If it can't be set aside, then we're going to look for a robust participation plan for small businesses to contribute to the program as well.
Okay, he has a follow-up on that. He says, in the future, will the satellite look to move to MEO or LEO, MEO or LEO?
I'm not technical from that standpoint, but yes, I've seen, we've had a couple of solicitations or RFIs come out for the LEO satellite requirements. I'd have to talk to you offline and try to get you in contact with somebody over the NOAA'S office to give you a better understanding of that.
Okay. Next question is from Zach. Where do NOAA post sources sought announcements?
I try to get them to post them to beta.sam.gov, but a lot of times they're posting them to the GSA eBuy system. If they post them to GSA eBuy, I do reference them in the Twitter account when I see them. So they can post them, basically they can post them anywhere. And I try to watch to see where they post them so that I can let you guys know about them.
Okay, this question is from Rashmi, who asked, does NOAA look for solutions in software security services?
Good question. I don't know because I'm not technical from the IT standpoint. If it's a technical service, then it would probably fall under the NEMITS contract that I spoke about, but I'm happy to put you in contact with our NOAA Link program office if you have specific questions about that sort of service.
Okay, and there's just one more question. This one is from Hale, who says, we're a small IT services federal contractor and we missed an opportunity on an IDIQ last year. What can we do right now as it is under protest? Can we join an awardee? How can we participate?
There's not much you can do right now. NOAA decided that until the protests are completed, we're not making an official announcement of who the awardees are. So it's really difficult to tell you to go after a certain team. You just kind of have to know that they got the award. The best thing I can think to do is to look at our forecast, to look at our IT requirements for the upcoming year. And as soon as we make the announcement of the firms that have won the award, be ready to reach out and contact based on capabilities to perform one of the requirements that's in our forecast.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's all the questions for you right now, Jeff. There may be some more later on, so thank you for that. Okay. And I'm obviously going to share Jeff's presentation with everybody after the webinar, so you'll have all those contacts and great links on there. So now we're going to go to Kelly Wright. So Kelly, if you would like to share your screen with us, please.
Okay, can you see that okay?
No, I need you to share your screen.
Oh.
Or share content, not quite sure how it displays.
Oh, it just popped up again. Okay, here you go.
Great. Okay, we're seeing your inbox. Just
I know.
Yeah, if you could shut all that down, just so it doesn't interfere with your presentation, that'd be great.
Here it is down here. Okay. All right, perfect. You can see that okay?
Looks good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay. All right, so thank you very much. My name is Kelly Wright, and I am the Director of the Technology Partnerships Office here at NOAA. I'm very happy to be part of this webinar, so appreciate being invited to this. Jeff talked a lot about, general, the bigger picture of small business within NOAA, and now I'm going to talk about one program in specifically, which is the Small Business Innovation Research Program. So my office manages both the SBIR program and the Technology Transfer Program for NOAA, but today I'm just going to talk to you about the SBIR program. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not. There we go. Okay, so this is a different kind of program. This is not an acquisition program. It is a competitive-based award program. So we're looking at programs, we're looking at projects coming in from small businesses that are recommending solutions to certain problems that are based on NOAA's mission. And so it is the largest source of early stage high risk funding for startups and small businesses. We are housed under NOAA, but all of our policy direction comes from the Small Business Administration. So this is a federal wide program. 11 different agencies participate in it, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But all of our policy direction and legislative information comes from Congress and then from the Small Business Administration. So we're really looking at stimulating the economy. We're looking at growing jobs, things like that, really helping small businesses to succeed. So this is about a $4 billion program government-wide. And so even though it's a competitive awards program, you do go into a competition with everybody else. You put in your proposal for what your solution to a problem is. It's research and development. But we're also we're not just looking at the technical merit. We're not just looking at, your personnel, key personnel. We're also, and very largely looking at, is it really innovative and is there a commercial potential? So the third bullet there, this program enables small businesses to explore their technological potential and provides the incentive to profit from the commercialization. So that's the big word for the SBIR program, is commercialization. What we're looking at is we want you guys to succeed. We want companies to succeed. The beauty of this program is that the company retains all rights to anything that was developed under the project. Under the funding. Now, government has government use rights, but basically, normally what it is that even if the government wants to purchase what you or wants to utilize what you have developed, that we have to purchase it from you. So this is, it's like I said, the risk is put on the government and not on the small business, so that small businesses can explore, ideas that they have. Okay, program mission and goals. The SBIR mission, and this is federal-wide, is to support scientific excellence and technological innovation through the investment of federal research funds in critical American priorities to build a strong national economy, one small business at a time. Again, we're very focused on small business. We're very focused on like providing the seed funding. You can see the logo at the bottom of the page there. It says SBIR STTR, America's Seed Fund. And that is exactly what it is that we are providing, no risk funding to small businesses to explore ideas that they have related to agencies' missions. So I do want to mention, I'm talking about SBIR. The other acronym there is STTR. That is the Small Technology Transfer Research Program. That is another program, excuse me, that is housed under the Small Business Administration, and only the 5 larger agencies have that program. And so that would be NASA, NASA, NIH, Department of Energy, NSF, and I can't remember the last one off the top of my head. Did I say energy? I'm not sure. But the 5 larger ones have that program. And so you can look to sbir.gov and find additional information there. So it's very similar to the SBIR program, but there are just a couple of different requirements. So program goals, again, we are really utilizing this to meet federal R&D needs. And that doesn't mean necessarily something that the agency itself needs. It's our mission needs. However, there are some agencies that, like Department of Defense, that are acquisition agencies, and they are really looking to purchase what is funded under SBIR. NOAA is not really looking to purchase. We may be a buyer, eventually, but it's not something that we're looking to have a company develop something that we're bringing into operations. We're looking at the larger commercial industry need. So stimulate technological innovation. And then, of course, we're trying to reach out a lot more to women and women-owned and socially and economically disadvantaged companies, as well as different hub zones, just different areas that are not currently participating as much as we would like to in the SBIR program. So we're trying to do a lot of outreach to them, a lot of outreach to HBCUs and other minority serving institutions as well. And so the last two bullets, and I'll keep saying this, commercialization, commercialization, commercialization is really what we're looking for. We are truly looking to provide funding to small businesses for an idea that you have to solve a problem, or to create something that has not been created yet, something that is truly innovative, that simply relates to NOAA's mission. And we want to pay you to do that, and then we want you to take whatever you develop, and we want you to commercialize it and make money, create jobs. We want you to be very successful. So can't mention that enough, the commercialization portion of it, that NOAA is not really your customer here. It's really to help you grow your business. So specifics about the programs, and this is true for all SBIR agencies. And so I know that we're talking about NOAA here, but I am going to plug all of the other agencies as well, to make sure that you guys know who the other agencies are that have this SBIR program. So, if there's something that you do that relates to their mission as well, that you could reach out to their SBIR programs. Excuse me. So there are certain requirements for the SBIR program, again, because this is a U.S. program. This is meant to stimulate the U.S. economy. So companies must be U.S. owned and operated and have fewer than 500 employees, and that's basically the definition of small business under this program. However, I will point out that the majority of our companies probably have fewer than 10 employees. It's, maybe a handful of companies that have, I don't know if we've actually ever had any that have been even close to 500. So most of them, I'm going to say, have been about 10 to 20, some of them are 1 and 2. So what we find a lot sometimes is folks that have either retired from federal service or left federal service, or other companies, or to go out on their own, or left universities to go out on their own to do some work, and they look into the SBIR program that way. So all work must be done in the U.S. Principal investigators' primary employment must be with a small business. That means that you have to be an actual employee of the company, not a contractor, not a consultant. And you must be full-time with that company. So even though the majority of the money has to go to the small business, you may subcontract out 33% of the total cost in phase 1 and 50% in phase 2. And I'll go over in a minute those different phases, the dollar amounts and what that looks like. So again, this is focused on commercialization of a new technology, not something that is already developed. So we're not looking just to take something and commercialize it. We want you to develop something new. So this is the structure of the SBIR program. Some of the agencies have a couple of different things in there. They may have some gap funding between phase 1 and phase 2, things like this, but this is the basic structure of the program. The phase 1, it is a proof of concept or feasibility study for 6 months, and it's up to $150,000. So that's only a 6-month effort. Immediately following that will be, companies will then put in their proposal for a phase 2. Phase 2 can be up to 24 months, and I have up to 500K plus here because NOAA offers $500,000 for Phase 2, but some of the other agencies, the larger agencies, offer $1 million or more for a Phase 2, just because they're, they have more funding to be able to provide to SBIR. So, but NOAA is Phase 1, 150,000, and for Phase 2, it's 500,000 or up to 500,000. So in Phase 3, I'll point out that Phase 1 and Phase 2, that is the portion that's funded by my office. Phase 3 is really we mainly call it the commercialization phase, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to, go through Phase 1 and Phase 2 and automatically have a product ready to commercialize. Sometimes it takes additional R&D. Sometimes you just need a little bit more help getting over that hump. So it is either further development or commercialization. Again, these are non-SBIR funds, so it can't come from funding from any of the SBIR agencies. Or from the SBIR agencies, SBIR offices. However, it can come from other program funding within the agency. So for instance, within NOAA, we can have other programs, all of those different line offices that Jeff mentioned, we can have any of the programs under there, provide SBIR funding for Phase 3. The beauty of a Phase 3 for a small business is that once you have gotten a Phase 1 and or a Phase 2, so you don't have to go through Phase 1 and Phase 2, but as long as you have a Phase 1, you can, or agencies can sole source contracts to these small businesses. So because the Phase 1 and the Phase 2 competition satisfies any further need for competition, these are done through sole source. So now that doesn't mean that agencies cannot compete something. They can still compete. However, if that agency, NOAA, anybody else, decides to give an award to a company other than the SBIR awardee that actually did the work, then they have to report that to the Small Business Administration prior to making any award and justify why that was. And so we do definitely like to give these sole source Phase 3 awards, to our SBIR companies. And another huge aspect of that is that it's not just you have a Phase 1 or Phase 2 with NOAA and then NOAA gives you a Phase 3. You could have a Phase 1 and Phase 2 with NOAA and then NASA give you a Phase 3, or vice versa. We can take something from the Navy. As long as government-wide you've had a Phase 1 or Phase 2, as long as the project that you want to go into for Phase 3 naturally follows what was done in Phase 1 and Phase 2, then you're eligible for a sole source from any agency. So that's one of the best things about the SBIR program is that last Phase 3 portion. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all these because Jeff already went through all these and gave you the idea of what each one of these components do within NOAA. I would like to, however, point out that this year in FY20, NOAA developed these science and technology focus areas. And so these are some of the things that we are going to focus on in our topic areas. Obviously, all of those other aspects that Jeff mentioned within NOAA's, mission areas, the weather ready nation. So we're looking at severe weather, we're looking at blue economy, things like that. But we also have these 6 strategies that we're looking at. So citizen science, artificial intelligence, data, cloud, omics, and uncrewed or unmanned systems. So these are areas that NOAA has decided they're going to be our focus areas for the next several years. And so we are pulling that, into the SBIR program, and we'll focus information on that in topic areas. I do have the website at the bottom there that you can go and look at these full documents. These are I think that they're final now, these strategies, but they were just developed. And so we've been working very closely with each one of these teams on what to include through SBIR. So as far as NOAA specific Phase 1 process, the typical process is that we develop topics based on all those mission areas that Jeff talked about, and then I just mentioned as part of the S&T priority areas. We develop those around, July to September. We release our solicitation in mid-October, with proposals being due mid-January, and then we go through the proposal evaluation and selection period, and then we look to have our phase one awards made July 1st every year. So I have the 2020 and 2021. This is the schedule we're currently on, but this is very typical for every single year. This is our normal cycle. Now, I'll point out that this is only mentioning phase one. Phase two immediately follows this process. So before the end of your 6-month phase one award period, you will be provided with the solicitation for phase two. Only those companies that were awarded phase one are eligible to apply for phase two. So, we look more for the full R&D prototype development phase in phase two. And so that information will be provided to all phase one awardees after or during their project. So as far as NOAA is concerned, we do award grants as our award mechanism. Last year was our first year doing so. We used to award contracts, and the main reason for switching to grants is because what we were finding is that our topic areas were much too specific. We had a lot of subtopics in there. They were NOAA-generated ideas, and we found that they were too specific and maybe weren't allowing for the level of innovation that we were looking for. And so by moving to grants offered the opportunity to have much broader topic areas. So for example, we may have just a topic area that's called blue economy, or a topic area that's citizen science, or, and STEM education or something like that. And here are some examples of the type of subtopics, but it's not limited to that, right? So what we're looking for more is investigator initiated ideas. So we're looking for the ideas from small businesses and not ideas from NOAA, because again, NOAA, when we send out, we have great scientists, but we're a very operational agency. And so a lot of what NOAA is looking for is things to come into operations, but that's not really how the SBIR program is set up. It's supposed to be for the greater good, for industry, for commercialization. So we want to make sure that we have those investigator-initiated ideas. And so that's why we moved to grants. We only put out one solicitation a year, phase one solicitation a year. Again, that is mid-October release date and mid-January of the proposal's due date. And that is available on grants.gov. As luck would have it, we are getting ready to release our FY21 phase one NOFO. I'm hoping that it'll be released quite possibly today or tomorrow, but at the latest next week. So you can go to grants.gov and take a look at that. Just search on NOAA SBIR and you'll be able to find that notice of funding opportunity when it is published. But we'll publish it on our website as well, which I have listed later in the presentation. So again, we are one of the smaller agencies. We only have about $11 million for SBIR, but with that, we do anticipate giving, roughly between 15 to 30 phase one awards and 10 to 15 phase two awards. We really never know from year to year what we are getting as far as our funding for SBIR, because it is based on the extramural R&D budget of the entire agency. So it's just, we have to wait until those dollars are we base it on prior year actuals, so we just have to wait until those actuals are processed through the system. So just to point out, these are the 11 federal agencies that do participate in SBIR. The ones in red are the largest federal agencies. Those are the largest ones. They have the most money for SBIR. The rest of us in blue are the smaller ones. The Department of Defense makes up almost half of the entire SBIR program federal-wide. So I do want to also point out is, of these 11 agencies, for example, if you see Department of Commerce, where NOAA is housed under, we're part of Department of Commerce, but you see Department of Commerce, and we have NIST and NOAA. So NIST and NOAA both have our own SBIR programs, but we're counted as one Department of Commerce. So the 11 federal agencies, that's at the department level. But for example, Department of Defense has a lot of different components under it. So they all have SBIR programs. So Department of Defense is not just one. You have Army, Navy, Air Force, all kinds of other, DARPA, everything under there. So there's a lot of SBIR programs under each one of these components, under each one of these departments. So I would just say don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge an agency by its name. Look at the SBIR, their projects, look at their topic areas, because you may find things that you didn't know actually that some of these agencies did. Okay, agency differences. Again, agency mission. We all have a different mission, and we all, operate under the same SBIR program rules and regulations, but we have to do it based on our own agency's mission. Number and timing of solicitations over the fiscal year. As I said, NOAA awards 1 per year, but Department of Defense may do 2 or 3. Other agencies, you just have to look into that and see when how many solicitations they release each year. Topic areas, broad versus specific, commercial market versus acquisition focus. Again, I stated earlier that Department of Defense is very much acquisition focused. So everything is for the warfighter. So they are really looking to purchase what they develop under SBIR. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not dual use technology there, that there is a commercial market for that, because they still want a commercial market. But there are specifics, like Department of Defense is acquisition. Most of the other agencies are really looking for commercial market products and services, and not something coming back into their own agency. Award type, size, and structure. Again, that's contract versus grants, and that's specific versus broad. So the contracts are more specific topics, specific topic areas, and grants would be much broader. Some agencies as well have base and option years. Some of them have gap funding between phase 1 and phase 2, because there are several months between the stop of conclusion of phase 1 and then the start of phase 2. So some of the agencies, especially those larger ones that have more money, they provide some gap funding there. The technical point of contact role within the agency. If you're doing contracts, they're probably going to be, even though both contracts and grants, it's still supposed to be an arm's length, relationship with the company. But the technical point of contact will probably be more involved under a contract than under a grant. And then lastly, the proposal preparation instructions, receipt date, and review process. So even though we all all the agencies follow the same basic instructions. Some agencies have different authorities, and so some of the instructions are different on how to prepare those proposals. In addition, the review process might be different. We don't use panels within NOAA. We provide, each proposal gets 3 reviews, 3 independent reviews, and then we bring them together, bring all of these reviews back together, and we rank them from 1 to however many proposals we get. And then we look at those reviews, and then we look at what is the commercial potential, the true innovation on the backside of that. So that's how we determine, that's how we do our review process and determine our selections. But each agency may have a slightly different way of doing that. And so this may be my last slide or my second to last slide, but I wanted to point out also the website at the bottom, the SBIR.gov. SBIR.gov is the place that all agencies' SBIR information is housed. You can search for topics, you can search for past awards, you can search by keyword, but this is what I wanted to point out is this tutorial. And the bulleted list on the side here are all of the courses that they have. They have a lot of courses under each one of these. But if you go to this tutorial website, you can kind of look up all of this information and get a lot more information about SBIR as well as the STTR program if you'd be interested in that. This is my last slide. Okay, so why SBIR matters? Again, the small business retains all intellectual property rights. So you get to keep everything. If we need it, we want to buy it, we need to buy it back from you. So we will be, a source of revenue if we want to purchase that. Again, especially for a small firm, it acts as a stamp of approval. Others outside of agencies, outside of your company, they look at, oh, you got a award with a federal agency. They look at that as a little bit of a stamp of approval because it's gone through the entire review process, the competitive review process. Again, as I mentioned, the sole source acquisition of resulting technology. This is that phase 3 process, that sole source. And again, it can be from any of the 11 agencies. You can switch, go between agencies, and even agencies that don't have SBIR programs. If you want to get a phase 3 contract with them, they can do that as well. So again, does not require the firm to give up any equity or assume debt. The government takes all of the risk here. So we provide, funding for you to explore, the idea that you have. Again, I already had that at the top about the intellectual property. A big thing that was just changed in the most recent legislation is that all data, proposals, reports, anything else that come out of your SBIR award is protected for 20 years. It used to be 4 years. They just moved it to 20 years, mainly because all agencies were protecting it forever anyway. We do not release any of this information because we don't want to release anything to your competitors. The only information we do release is the abstract you provide with your proposal if you are awarded, and then your company information. That's all, date, address and PI and things like that. So again, this has helped small businesses to commercialize technologies that meet NOAA's needs. So commercialization, 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 that's what we want you to focus on. So this is not an acquisition program, it is a grants program. It's so that you can commercialize something, make money, stimulate the economy, create jobs, just be very successful. So with that, I know I ran through a whole bunch of stuff real quickly. I will take questions.
Thanks, Kelly. That was great. Yes, now's your opportunity. We only have a couple of minutes left. If you have any questions for either Kelly or Jeff, now's your time to type them out. We have one question from Joe, which is, do you have any example proposals?
We do not have any example proposals because the companies would have to allow us to release those. So we haven't had anybody that is willing to allow us to release what the proposals look like, or what a winning proposal looks like.
Okay, great. And I think this question was typed out when Jeff was wrapping up. It's from Rashmi, who asked, can you please share the point of contact for IT technical services?
Yes, that would be for Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, I don't know. Oh, you may need to unmute yourself to answer, Jeff.
I don't know how.
Hi, Jeff. Did you hear the question?
I did. I've been clicking all kinds of buttons trying to get unmuted. So basically, unless it's specific, I would send them over to the NOAA Link help desk, which I believe is, I can just pull it up real fast. So it's NOAA Link, NOAALINK .help, HELP @NOAA.gov. And you're welcome to CC me on the email to let them know that you've already talked to me about it and that the question's more for them. But they have a group over there that takes care of all those types of technical questions.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Well, there doesn't seem to be any more questions, so we're going to wrap this up. I'd like to remind everybody that I will be emailing the presentations out to you shortly. I have Jeff's. I don't think I have yours, Kelly. If you could email that to me.
Yeah, I emailed it this morning to you.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you so much. Absolutely. And I'd like to thank Jeff and Kelly so much for doing this. This has been great. This is our first NOAA webinar that we've done, and it gave a lot of great information. So I appreciate you both doing this. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And just to remind you that if you need any help from the PTAC, please contact your counsellor or sign up to get counselling. It's free and confidential. Thanks, everybody. And we hope to see you all again on another webinar. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.